Awesome. Welcome. I'm Darrin Barney here with Kelsey, and we're going to be doing a webinar here for you today on maximizing your marketing presence. Really excited to be able to spend some time with Kelsey. He's a friend of mine and somebody that runs a good business, and we've had some good conversations. So Kelsey, thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Darrin. It's always interesting being on the other side. Usually I'm always the one asking all the questions and whatnot. So it'll be fun to just kind of be able to talk and just help as many shops as we can today.
That's great. Yeah. And thank you everybody for tuning in. We know your time is valuable, and Kelsey and I have met and discussed some things that we feel be good, valuable information for you as a shop owner or manager. We know that once again, there's only so much time in the day. And so to work on, getting some basics about your marketing and what you can do to get those phones to ring, get customers to come in the door is important. And so whether you decide to go out and outsource and have somebody do it, or you decide to take care of it on yourself, we want to make sure you got enough basic ammunition to help you out to ask good questions and just get a basic understanding of marketing. So does that sound about right, Kelsey?
Yep. It sounds exactly right. Just hoping to bring as much value here as we can today, because I know marketing, especially right now, things, and I've heard a lot, like things are a little bit slower, and so just different ideas and processes, and just hopefully arms yourself with the right questions, at least especially if you are outsourcing it, so that way you know, like, okay, I should at least be aware of this metric or whatever it may be.
That's right.
Hopefully we can talk about those things today.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, cool. Well, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Kelsey.
Yeah, so I'm co-founder with my wife and I, and CEO of Lyft Auto Repair Marketing. We're all-in-one online marketing company for just auto repair shops. That's all we focus on, all we want to do, what we have passion for. All in one, in the sense that we do the website and the SEO, the ads, the social media. We have a CRM. I mean, again, try to just streamline that communication process of marketing for you. So
Cool. Yeah, and Kelsey, you're out of Utah, right?
Yes, yeah, we're based just south of Salt Lake City. Lehigh, Utah is where I live. Our company is 100% remote. We have people everywhere. But yeah, Utah is where I am.
Cool. That's great. And then you see you got two kids and another one on the way too, right?
Yep. Another one coming in September 1st. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Excited.
Three's cool. That's what I got in my family too, and I love it. It's really nice to have three. So that's great. Well, thank you so much, Kelsey. To everybody, those of you who don't know me, I'm Darrin Barney. I'm the CEO of Elite Worldwide. I also own a shop in Grand Junction, Colorado called Barney Brothers Off Road. We specialize in lifting vehicles and basically feeding the male ego is what I always say. And just have fun doing that, so it's good. And then with Elite, we do coaching, consulting, and training and things like that too. So grateful again for everybody taking time out of their busy days to be here. And we'll give you guys lots of good information today. So okay, so who we are, I just mentioned a little bit about Elite. Once again, we do coaching, consulting, training, and peer groups. So if you're wanting to take your shop to the next level, or maybe go from one to two locations, or just be able to make enough money to make payroll, we can help you with that. We also do service advisor training. We have an awesome peer group of shop owners across the nation that get together and discuss best ways to improve their businesses. We do shop visits, do a lot of cool stuff. So yeah, anyway, a little bit about us. How about you, Kelsey? Tell us a little bit more about Lyft. So
absolutely. So as it says down here, we're on a mission to help 1,000 shop owners is our goal. Obviously a very big goal, but we want to help them grow, triple their sales, open multiple locations if that's their goal, or just maximizing their current one. That's what we want to really push for with a world-class experience of marketing for themselves.
Well, that's good. And our conversation before, I've always been blown away by your knowledge and how much you love to help people. So I think their audience is going to get a lot of good stuff today. So
I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today. So once again, I got to tell everybody in the audience, and I told Kelsey this, I don't know much about marketing at all. I've always had fun, used to do a lot of my own Facebook stuff, and I always paid other people. Actually, I don't know if I ever told you this, Kelsey, but I built my own website back in the day, back in 2003 when we first started. And I had a lot of fun learning code and really enjoyed doing that. And whether it was any good or not, I don't know. Back then, it didn't matter as much because we were always the top, but it was like, I had a lot of fun doing it. But we're going to learn about SEO. Kelsey's going to give us some pointers about that. We're going to talk about Google AdWords. And once again, he's going to work us through things that he recommends. We're going to talk about social media and then GBP. So those are your Google business profile. So that's just kind of a quick 10,000 foot or 20,000 foot view of what we're going to be going over today. Do you have anything else you want to add on that?
Yeah, no, exactly that. I'm glad you define. I know obviously there's some acronyms here. There's lots of different acronyms. I know in
Right.
every industry. Just to make it a little more convenient for the slide is why we threw it in there. But yeah, SEO, search engine optimization, GBP, Google Business Profile. But we're just kind of talking at a slightly higher level. Again, just to arm yourself with the right questions, and also hopefully I'll be giving you things that like you make sure you can even do yourself in some of these elements. So
It's
yeah.
funny you said that because I'm looking at GDP and I'm like, or GBP, and I was like, wait a minute here. I know that Google Business Profile.
Yeah,
That's a new one.
Yeah, it used to be called GMB, but then yeah, then for Google My Business, and then Google changed
Yep.
it. So
That's funny. Okay, cool. Oh, guys, really quickly too, before we get too far along, if you have questions, anything that you want to ask Kelsey or myself, feel free to type that into the chat. If it's something that we can answer along the way, we will. Otherwise, we will have a Q&A at the end of the session. And we can answer all your questions at that point too. So yeah, anyway, I forgot to mention that earlier. Okay,
perfect.
let's get on to the first part, shall we? So tell us about SEO. I know it's search engine optimization, but I mean, what is some of the magic that is here, and what can you help these shop owners with to help them understand how this works and what it does?
Yeah, so I mean, I think for a lot of people, it's always like SEO is like that voodoo magic in a sense of like, what even is it? Marketers tell me about this all the time. Like, that does it even work? Absolutely, it works. Because I mean, the whole idea we have behind SEO is just to ensure that you're appearing in Google as often as possible at the highest ranking as possible. Because at the end of the day, in this day and age, people are kind of looking for immediate impact, immediate results. They're too lazy to scroll through all the different options that are there. You have to be at the top to have really a firm value, like feasible chance to get picked in terms of getting that call, getting that booking of appointment. And so those are the things that we want to leverage in doing. Typically, we break it up into kind of 3 different categories for the most part. So there's on-site SEO, off-site SEO, and then local SEO. All of these are needed, in my opinion, in order to create an SEO product at the end of the day for your business. On-site, hopefully, it's pretty self-explanatory in terms of on your website. It's like having like the different content and different meta descriptions and schema and things on the back end of the site that should be handled by like a web developer in a sense. Obviously, there's some different web builders that make it easy to kind of manipulate some of these things, but usually, like it's a little bit intermediary in terms of like how like the level that it's done. So like if you're maybe if you're in a really rural area where there's not many competitors, like that type of way is pretty fine. But when things are, if you're, a lot of people are getting again more with the times, and so like you need to make sure you're having this robustness built within the website itself. So just make sure that that's done right. And there's different tools and things and softwares you can look to kind of look up how you're performing. My favorite tool is called Ahrefs, so ahrefs.com. It's not a cheap tool, but still it's one of the most effective marketing tools that are out there. I know there's a bunch of different ones that people try out.
Ahref, you called it?
ahrefs.com.
Okay. So I've used SEMrush. Is that similar?
SEMrush is a similar tool, just definitely the level in which it is grabbing the data from Google is not as effective. I mean, there's different rankings in terms of like, okay, how well our software is pulling from like kind of Google's algorithm. The 1 and 2 are Google themselves naturally because it's theirs. But number 3 is Ahrefs. SEMrush, I think the last thing I saw that they're like kind of in the 20s or 30s or something like that in terms of like just how well. Like so again, there's so many softwares that pull from Google the data and trying to figure out how to best visualize that. And so it's better than nothing in my opinion, but there's definitely like better options to.
So as a shop owner though, why is SEO important to them, to these guys that are all listening here that don't know what that means? And I'm sorry, I'm sure a lot of you guys are more advanced, but I mean, once again, if there's any of us basic here, why is this important?
At the end of the day, I mean, I'd say 75% of your calls are coming from the map itself, your Google Business Profile, which again, we'll dive into a little bit later, just a little bit more intricacies of it, but like that alone is driven by SEO in terms of that prevalence and ranking there. And so overall, if you're looking at your total call volume of the month, and you're like, you know what, I got 400 calls this month. Right. 75% is 300 calls. And that's how many should at least be coming from Google of that ratio. And in terms of organically Google, there's other portions of like Google ads and social media, the different outlets, obviously, that you'll get different calls from or mailers or whatever you may be doing. But overwhelming majority of the calls are coming from organic Google rankings, which is driven by SEO here. So that's where
Okay.
that comes into play. Like if it's not done right and you're not getting the max volume out of like organic calls that you can be, then you're kind of in a world of hurt where some of your competitors were just.
So it's going to lower you down on that ranking if these aren't set
Exactly.
up correctly, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I've heard somebody else was telling me about long tail keywords, and I don't. Is that another?
It is, yes. I mean that definitely will get a little bit more technical in terms of SEO itself.
Right.
There's keywords that are a little bit shorter, like just like say auto repair by itself, or
Okay.
long tail keywords will start adding elements to that keyword where it's like auto repair in location name or auto repair shop.
Cool.
Or best auto repair. Again, long tail just means there's just a lot more word elements in the
Okay.
keyword stuff. And
So it helps to narrow it into like just rather than just putting auto repair in as a SEO term word, you put in.
Yeah, you want to have a blend of both in terms
Okay.
of words that you're going after. But definitely, yeah, something like I think that gets a little bit more technical. Where I think like I would recommend having some sort of website person, in my opinion, for a shop.
Sure.
When you're going into that element of things. But say for like the local SEO aspect of your Google business profile, that's where like there's a lot of things that you can do yourself in there, but then it should be linking with like your website. Like the Google business profile should be on your website that then links to your actual profile. It shouldn't be like
right.
going to another one that had a similar name,
Sure.
like what's your shop or things like that should be speaking to itself. And then offsite SEO is where it's called backlinks and citations, where I guess a lot of different words that we're throwing out there.
Yeah,
but,
sweet.
Say for example, you're like on the news website, and you're seeing an article, and you see some of those words are they're talking about a certain element, and then some of the words are clickable. We click on the word, it opens up a new window, and it probably like it goes to like a business page or something like that. Like that's a backlink.
Okay.
Google loves these things because
Right.
other websites referring you in a sense, and so that it's again another form of SEO. As you're building these things up together, it kind of just creates this big snowball that then you want to end up not just pushing uphill anymore. You want to just roll down the hill and capture on its own and build this big firm foundation. So yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you. I guess we'll go into a little bit more in-depth SEO next, right? Next slide.
Yeah, and so we kind of hit on these different things, different key, like different hot words that I sort of mentioned in terms of off page, on page, local, but to simplify it in terms of like things like I want people to obviously be armed to do themselves. On page, there's certain elements of just like understanding, like okay, are my keywords with the location name on the website itself. Anyone can go in and check that yourself. You don't have to be the one that adds it in there. You just need to know that, okay, like, are we an auto repair shop in the area, or are we a Euro shop in the area? Like what should be the words there? Like, like understanding like what are maybe some of our most popular makes that our team is amazing at. Like, do we talk about that on the site? So just in general, like, you don't need to be the one that like puts that on there, but you just need to make sure that you're aware of like just what your site is sort of looking like. So that'd be some of the on-page stuff you can do yourself. Local stuff is your Google business profile.
So I got to ask you a really quick question though. So do your people continue to get training then to stay up on all this? Because I know Google's always changing. In fact, they made a big change in January or something, right? And they are always changing, especially with AI. I know everything is rapidly changing.
Yeah, that's a great. So, yes, our team is definitely always staying on the up and up, but like for you mentioned there's an update in kind of Google's algorithm. So this year definitely the algorithm updates have been cracking down a lot more on just AI based content. And so in terms of there's been some websites that had like people were leveraging AI so much, like the whole website just strictly AI copy and pasted in a sense. Now
you lose the soul, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Good,
and they were working well for a while because again, like Google changed its stats in terms of like, yeah, as long as it's valuable content. But there's some websites that are literally like de-indexed in terms of like Google is not even recognizing the website anymore. The traffic just dropped to zero because it was just strictly, it felt that it was 100% AI invaluable content. And so that's where you want to be careful when we're obviously as we're trying to leverage AI the right way, and just making sure you're not taking too many shortcuts. So like, yes, it's super convenient to be able to type in like, oh, please write a page about brake repair in the area because I don't want to write one. Like, and then copy and pasting that. But that more than likely would be a huge detriment to like the site in and of itself as a whole, because you don't want to fly Google in the wrong way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Cool.
That's a great
I'm
question.
glad to hear that. I wondered about that because it just, I mean, I know like our techs, right? They're always going to training. And I mean, something we believe in a lot at Elite. It's like you've always got to be constantly growing and improving and making the best of yourself and, stay on top of the new things that are changing and growing,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I think that segues really well into like the local SEO portion where we talk about where it says responding to reviews. So I know
yeah.
I've seen a lot of things where it's like, yeah, I mean, AI, you just prompt it and just copy and paste it for me, put it in there. So one thing that's like misunderstood within the Google Business Profile, Google indexes the reviews, so the responses
Okay.
there. So each word is in a sense a data point for Google. And so that's where we're
Really?
yeah. And so
Oh my goodness.
with responding, like that's what we always recommend, like yes, putting in the keywords in there, like, hey, don't just say thank you to Bob for leaving a 5-star review, like thank him for bringing in this board for a burger pair. Like you can see all that in your point of sale system, so you want to
Yeah.
respond to data points over time, but you don't want to just like copy and paste an AI response always, because like who knows how many other people are doing that. And like if your responses are always looking the same as everybody else's, then that's going to start again giving Google's less valuable information because there's no uniqueness behind what you're saying. So there's different ways that you're able to
Okay.
manipulate it. So I usually just recommend like you can use the AI as a prompt and then just slightly edit it and tweak it to be like a little bit more personal of a
Yeah.
feel. But then that way you still have the keywords in there and everything like that. And then it's going to be indexed. And now over time, like someone's typing in, hey, my forward brakes are squeaking, where can I go? Like, there's a good chance that your listing now
Yeah.
appears because you have those little data points over all the reviews that you keep compiling and responding.
So when you've got a negative Google review, then what's the best way to reply to that?
Perfect
I mean,
question.
that's something as a shop owner, you get so frustrated when you get a negative review. You're like, really?
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck happened here?
Yeah, exactly. So negative reviews are definitely one where like you do not want to go on the side of like, oh well, how do I at least make this SEO related to rank it? Like no, like a negative review just needs to be responded as genuinely as possible. And obviously
Sure.
it's a little bit trickier taking the emotion out of it. So that's where I think negative reviews are one of the best ones to leverage AI for, because like AI doesn't have any emotional attachment to
Yeah,
like
not at
what is
all.
being said or this customer or anything like that. So that's a really good way to leverage like kind of response for yourself to be like, okay, that sounds pretty professional. That's not what I
Yeah.
would have said, but like
Yeah,
it
of
sounds a lot
course.
more professional. And that's the whole idea. Because I mean, some
Okay.
people they even go to the Google Business Profile and they filter by lowest reviews, because you can filter by
Yeah,
highest
of
reviews,
course.
lowest reviews, relevant reviews. And so people just they like, for some reason they like to see the pain of a business and see how someone
Yeah.
responds to it. And so like responding to that though in a professional way is crucial.
But to anybody that is wondering, I sorry if I sound really basic on this, but if you haven't checked out AI yet, you really need to. There's a great program called Chat GPT, and it's a wonderful program and it's free at the moment anyway. And you can go in there and you can actually write how to respond to a negative Google review. You can ask it all kinds of things. It'll actually give you copy or text like wording of how to reply to something. So it's really valuable tool. If you haven't used it yet in your business, I would definitely recommend looking into it. Sorry, didn't mean to sidetrack a little bit there, Kelsey,
Yeah,
but
and
I
that's
mean,
that's a perfect call out. Yeah, it's not always understood that they have ChatGPT obviously has paid versions too, but yeah, there's free
well,
ability there, and you can just type in. It's pretty
it's
cool.
cool.
Type in a prompt, and it spits out, and someone is talking back to you. It's scary and cool at the same time.
Well, it is, but it's funny because I'm talking with my brother about it, and Kelsey and I both go to the same church. We were just talking about church stuff, but my brother does a lot of speaking for his church calling, and he was telling me he actually used ChatGPT for his church calling, and it actually gave him all kinds of stories and things to think about that when he was creating the talk. He's like, I can't use it all, but it sure gave me a lot of good pointers and ideas. And I was like, man, what a genius thing to do, right? Because it's like
Yeah,
we're only so smart. Why not use our resources around us and help us be the best we can be? So
exactly. And I think
anyway,
that's one of the best ways to leverage AI is just kind of like giving you that directional push where like you don't need to start from scratch. Like you just ask it a
yeah,
question.
gives you some ideas.
Yeah, give you
Good
ideas. And
stuff.
like, you know what, that's a perfect idea. And then you just take
Yeah.
it. You can modify it yourself.
I'm sure we're going to see even more of that for the SEO stuff and everything you're talking about here. I'm sure that, a lot of them are already utilizing it. So,
Yeah, no,
but
exactly. And so,
cool.
yeah,
All right. Is there anything else that we need to know about this? I mean, how long, once you start doing this stuff, how long does it start to start ranking on Google?
good question. So like that's one of the hardest things to be able to say like, oh yeah, it's going to take this long or this amount of time. Um, there isn't an exact science. I mean, like,
Okay.
on average, usually I say like when someone starts and is doing it right, maybe you'll see it in that 3 to 6 month window is probably ideal. But again, there isn't an exact number
Okay.
that's best.
So you have a new website built, say that I went to you guys and I had you guys build me a website. So it'll take 3 to 6 months before we start seeing a lot of positive traction. Is that correct?
On the SEO side. And so that's typically where, again, you have Google ads as a supplement early on to like make up that time frame in terms of like, obviously people want results as fast as possible. And so
Okay.
and sometimes that SEO happens really, really quickly
Cool.
if things align up correctly and Google like, yep, this is what I wanted to see, and boom, you'll start ranking better, you see the results.
Yeah.
But not always will that happen. But then that's where perfectly like Google ads becomes that supplement to be like, hey,
Okay, so the Google AdWords help out in the meantime.
Yeah.
And I know we'll talk about those later, but actually next, I think, right?
That's like the perfect next segue into the next thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. So with Google Ads, I mean, there for those that don't know, I mean, it's where if you type in a search and there's a sponsored section at the very top, and then that's like, again, you're paying to be in the top of Google. And there's usually a few placements up there. Then there's the map listing, and then there's just like the organic websites that are there. So ads, people kind of treat like commercials sometimes, or it's like, yeah, they don't, no one really likes commercials. They don't like ads. They want to scroll by,
Sure.
and see the reviews. They want to see the business, do a little bit more research. But obviously there's a good portion of people out there that they don't have time for that. They're like, what's the top one? I'm going to click on it and that's
Well, yeah.
and give them a call. And so that's the, I guess the purpose behind it, but it captures about 10 to 20% of the volume of calls. Really, if it's what's bringing in, say, 50% of your calls, I'd say you need to reevaluate your SEO strategy, because that is an overwhelming amount of calls for your ads that, in my opinion, that's just too big of the bucket. Like you're very dependent now on ads driving calls for your business, and that price probably will only go up. Like in Google, that helps. Obviously, other people that are bidding on keywords and things are helping dictate that price, but like as like less people search, that supply obviously gets less, demand is higher, the cost per click goes up, cost per call goes up, and you're like, why am I spending more money on Google ads? Well, just and for like the same volume or less even at times. And
so just to be clear though, just for the audience to understand, if you're spending a lot of money on Google AdWords, that's very possible that'll continue to go up. Is that correct?
What you're saying? Yeah, very, very possible. In terms of just how just the nature, like for example, a couple of years ago, cost per click within auto repair was probably half to maybe 3/4 of what it is currently, because it's only gone upwards in terms of that cost per click on average. Because usually, I guess that like a good segue as well. So the cost per click is that if you go into Google Ads, like when someone clicks on the ad, that's when you're getting charged. Just because it appears there and people scroll by does not mean you're getting charged. Like an impression appears, like because it's like, oh, your ad showed up, but you do not get charged by Google just because it showed up. Only when they click.
So yeah, that's the pay-per-click. Okay,
obviously, yeah, exactly. And then when they click, then that's when like you'll get a price point. So usually that price point that we shot for was like in that $4 to $7 range, because that's what we saw. Like, okay, effective campaign,
right,
it's on that range.
And I'm sorry, what did you say that dollar should be for cost pay-per-click?
So it used to be like, again, like a couple of years ago, probably in that 4 to 7 range was kind of like go.
Okay.
But now we're seeing it like around that $7 to $10 range. It's kind of like go. We have to like
per click
that up, just because it's naturally per click.
Well, yeah, well, plus you got a lot more competition, so you've got to pay more to get to the top of that list, right?
Exactly. And so that's what we're seeing. But even more so, I think what a lot of people aren't looking at is that cost per conversion. They're like that cost per phone call, a lead that's coming through.
Well, tell the audience really quickly about that cost per conversion and what that means.
Yep. And so that's in a sense of like, how much is it costing me to get the phone to ring from Google Ads? And that's truly the number that matters the most. Because like, again, you can get a cost per click of $1, less than $1, but if it's not resulting in any phone calls that are of value to you, then at the end of the day, that total spend, you're wasting all the spend regardless, just on happens to be more clicks to make that metric look a little bit better. And so understanding that cost per conversion is crucial.
Okay.
At times, I don't know if everyone is tracking it, but make sure you're tracking the conversions that are coming from your Google Ads, because that's going to be important to help you dictate whether you should be spending more money on it or less money on it.
Well, yeah, not to regress a little bit here, but never will forget when we started with one of our marketing companies, and he told me, he's like, if you look in your words, you guys are probably getting a lot of calls for, I don't remember what it was. It was something for import cars. And that's not, we don't do that. We do Jeeps and trucks and, I mean, we do Toyotas, of course, but this was like German made stuff. And I was like, no. And he's like, well, we started doing research and come to find out, I asked my people, and they're like, yeah, we actually have had a lot of people call asking about us if we work on BMWs. Like, and they were joking about it on the counter, but it's something that we didn't even know that in our SEO stuff and Google AdWords, there'd actually been some German import stuff in there, or German card stuff. And that's not what we do. And so we're getting calls for that. So we were paying for that phone to ring, but it had nothing to do with what we do. It just tells you what Google AdWords listing can do for you, right?
Exactly. It can be a lot of wasted money in a really quick amount of time. You're like, where did those dollars go? And like, I feel like I didn't get anything. But that's where like a lot of people go off feeling, and like they're like, oh, I feel like the phone isn't ringing, or I feel like the cars aren't coming in. But then also, like, if you're tracking conversions, like the feeling goes away. The data shows, like, yeah, no, this is actually what did come in though. And these are the people that came into the shop, and so the ROI that you're getting from ads, either yes, it makes sense, it's like a 5x, or it's like, no, I'm not making any, I'm losing money because of it. And okay, I need to either change who's doing my ads for me, or like turn them off.
Do something different.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever that may be.
That was before we were tracking calls as good as we do now.
Yeah.
It's been a learning process with this stuff. But anyway, cool. All right. I guess we're good. Can we move on to the next one now?
Absolutely. I mean, I just real quick, the cost per conversion range, I don't think I've that should be around that $40 to $60 range is usually a good range that I'd say I would shoot for in terms of like the cost per call or form fill out from ads that's coming in. So that's a good goal range to do.
You said 30 to 40 per cost?
Well, sorry, 40 to 60 is that range per conversion.
Obviously that better be a good conversion. We got to have a good sales.
Yeah, obviously you want that as low as, obviously you want as low as possible.
Of course.
But typically because of a good campaign, that I'd say that if someone's within that range and you're actually you're seeing that those conversions are true conversions, that's a pretty solid, because you're
it's funny though, if you're paying that kind of money, right, you got to make sure that that phone's being answered correctly, and that you're doing good inspections, and that every customer experience is on the top of its game.
Exactly.
It's awesome. Cool. Okay, good. Are you ready for the next one? Are we good?
Yep, exactly. Let's roll to next.
Thank you.
I think we chatted about this a little bit already in terms of KPIs to look at for both cost per click, cost per conversion, and if you can even go a step further in terms of seeing like what actual phone calls led to cars coming in, what they spent on those cars, then you can really see like, okay, it resulted in this much revenue coming in for this much that I'm paying. And kind of that next step of even understanding even further. If you can do that across the board for all your leads in terms of like one's coming from ads, one coming from the website, one's coming from just your Google business profile, you have a very, very effective marketing campaign.
Cool. Well, it's important to be able to track those things, right? If you're not tracking where your leads are coming from, any of you in the audience that aren't tracking that, I would highly encourage you to track where your leads are coming from, because you need to know where your marketing money's going,
And one thing to trust is like your source reporting in your like shop management software. Like one thing I recommend is having the source of where someone came in from required for any RO to like be inputted into the system. That way, I think I've seen so many where it's like you look at the report and it's like no source, and then you see all these dollars attributed, both new and returning customers, to no source. It's like, okay, that is a wasted data that you have no idea really how these people came in, and you're just gonna go by feeling again in terms of like, oh, I think they mentioned this, or this month I felt like mailers worked really well, when really like that wasn't, the feeling was incorrect. And now you're investing more dollars in that when it shouldn't be, or vice versa. So that's where you want, like, ideally your source report should be kind of a lever of truth. Like the data is obviously only as good as it's being inputted. And so if your team is like being lazy and just like, everything is Google today, that's what they label it as, that's going to do nobody any good. But creating that practice for the source reporting being right, and then you leverage that, like the marketing, if you're using a marketing company, they're looking at that. They're like, this is making sense in terms of like the ratio of 70% returning, 30% new. Of the 30% new, this is where it's broken up into in terms of the different lead places. That helps them know like, oh, ads didn't do as well this month, and we maybe need to make some modifications there, or organic was blowing it out of the water. Like, okay, what do we do this month to help that happen? Like those are, like, again, very valuable to be able to have tracked properly, but it starts with the source of like your team entering that in right.
So in other words, if you're not tracking where your leads are coming from, start right away. Your people will complain about it at first, but then they'll get used to it and they won't complain anymore. But you are going to have to check in with them and make sure that they're doing it right.
Exactly. And it's just a question you just ask, and whatever that person says, that can, I mean, obviously they might have saw your social media post and your mailer, and then they said Google, like, but whatever they said is the thing that I would say is like, that's how they feel in their mind, how they found you. And so then you need to make sure that you're recognizing that as where the lead came from.
Well, yeah, there's nothing more frustrating. You talk to people and they're like, well, how did you hear about us? Online. Okay, well, I'm glad it's online, but tell me a little bit more, and you have to pry sometimes to get a little bit more of that information. But most of the time they're used to hearing that. They don't mind. They really do.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, and so, I mean, when you're tracking those KPIs, we're talking about Google AdWords, but does this also work for Facebook too?
Exactly.
Or social media or whatever. So
yeah, the same thing works for social media, Facebook, in terms of understanding what's working, what's coming from. And so a lot of people ask, like, okay, should I invest in ads in Facebook the same that I do in Google Ads? In my opinion, Google Ads is definitely going to be the stronger ROI typically, so especially in the auto repair industry. Seeing the ROI on social media is a lot trickier. A lot of decisions aren't being made through social media for auto repair itself. Like, it's not where they're looking as often, but does it mean to ignore it? Absolutely not. You want to be able to diversify your marketing as consistently as possible, and really leveraging social media in that right way, which I think segues perfectly into.
Yeah, I know. You want me to go to the next slide? I think
the next
about
one,
social media. So yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So with social media, I think the first thing that's most important is understanding which platforms should I even use. And at the end of the day, I mean, as we've gone through managing a bunch of different social media platforms, the best ones in terms of like the most likelihood of a customer that you want spending money is going to be Facebook and Instagram. Like those two tend to be the best ones to spend the most time for. YouTube is also very beneficial. It's really hard to convince shop owners to make videos. And so in order for, like, again, having that time to make video is difficult and tricky, a lot harder than just snapping a picture with your phone. And so that's where, like, it can be a very, very valuable tool, but again, it does take effort and time that you will have to go through and do. But another valuable tool, LinkedIn is more, I'd say, fleet-based accounts, but that's a personal, like, connection. And
so you're saying that video is important then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely a very valuable tool to be happening. Like I mentioned, like LinkedIn was more like, I say, fleet account based, like, and that's, you can't have a marketing company posting on LinkedIn and then hoping that it's just going to result in anything. Like that's where you, the owner, are messaging maybe the fleet manager, and like just building that connection. And that's honestly what LinkedIn will be the best for, like the everyday consumer. Getting it off of LinkedIn, probably slim to none. So those are the main avenues. But yeah, like you mentioned with video, one tip that I have for people to do, again, you can do it right now and it can work very effectively, is start getting a video testimonial from your customers. I guarantee everyone in here and everyone that ends up watching this, like, you can probably name at least 5 people off the top of your head that would give you an amazing review. Like customers that are like diehard, loyal to you no matter what. Like you have those guaranteed. If you've been in business for this long and you're investing time to even watch this, I know you have that. And so of those people, why not now, instead of just the Google review, like next time they come in, just like, hey, a little video, can you just share why you love coming here? And it'll be like a little 30-second minute spiel that they have, and that is gold in terms of that. And then when you make the video, make sure you're not videoing it like this. You want to video it up and down. That's how people are viewing social media. They read it this way. And so when you video it up and down, it captures more of the screen. You don't want this awkward this awkward formatted video that's like, you filmed it this way and then now they're trying to view it this way and it's like long and skinny and it doesn't look as good.
So when you get that recorded though, what do you do with it?
Great question. And so with that recording, now, I mean, if you have a marketing team, you can send to them, but ensure you don't have to. You can now that you have this little 30-second video, you would create this and post it on, obviously, your social media. And you can maybe even tag that customer in there, so now their friends all see it, and so they're like, oh, I didn't realize she went.
That's cool.
And that's one. And now each month, maybe you make a goal for yourself. I want to do one a month. So 6 months, now you have six people.
Especially if you're standing there with a customer and they're already telling you that they're happy and they're pleased. It's like, why not? It's not that hard to just say, hey, can you do a quick video?
Exactly. I mean, it is a little bit awkward to do a video instead of a picture for the first time that you're doing it,
Yeah,
being behind the
of
camera and
course.
doing it. But up front, once you get over that awkwardness, it is very valuable. So now that you have, like, say you have 6 videos on your social media platform of different people in town.
Yeah,
Now there's a strong chance there's multiple people in town that are connecting more than one of these people. They're like,
sure.
holy moly, not like 2 or 3 people I know are going, like, it's gonna start feeling like like a lot of people are going there.
Yeah,
They're missing out on something. And that's the best time to like capitalize, where you're like, hey, I feel like something's going on there. Then that's what's making them want to lean in and go a little bit further and see
yeah.
what the shop is about. And so that, again,
Cool.
something you can do today to
Yeah,
start. It really takes 30 seconds to, like, and that's how long the video should be. It's 30 seconds to a minute. We've seen those work the most effective on social media. Anything
that's
longer than
cool.
that doesn't hurt to have it longer, but
But
especially if you're going to turn it into an ad on social, usually that 30 to a minute window,
yeah, 30 seconds is good. Okay,
where Facebook shows it most often. So
that's great. All right, let's move on to the next part. We got a lot of materials there to cover.
yeah.
All right, so tell us about local Viking bad rankings.
Yeah, and so and this is where, in terms of like your Google business profile, obviously, like we mentioned before, like your local map is majority of your phone call volume. Like, again, that like 70-75%. So if you're not ranking well on the map, you're not going to be like not going to be growing in the level that you want, because people aren't finding you as naturally. And so
Okay,
local ranking is a tool that allows you to see how you're ranking in Google in a certain like radius around your shop. So typically in the middle will be like, say you type in the word auto repair for your shop and you search in like this will be a 3-mile radius. You're like, hey, how am I performing in the 3-mile radius for the word auto
sure.
in the maps? Obviously, you'd want to see here that you're in the top 3. Like, this is an example of like something that looks not very good. Like
Right.
someone is just like, Google is not seeing you as an auto repair shop properly. And now
Huh.
if you click to the next slide, then we go to like what maybe good rankings would look like. You're doing the right SEO implementation, things across the board. Now things are starting to improve and look a little bit better. So now when someone is like standing right outside the shop to type in auto repair, you're number 1, which is expected. They're right next to the shop. But each mile that you get apart, you're still like, oh, still in the top 3 when I'm a mile out. 2 miles out, I still have a few spots in the top 3. 3 miles, and like, again, you start realizing like, what, guarantee you'll feel like more call volume is coming through, because now just more people are having an opportunity to find you in the top 3 consistently, because that trust that you're building with Google. And so with this tool, I mean, again, it's a pretty affordable tool, but also, like, if anyone here that's watching wants a free scan of like what theirs looks like, just shoot me a message. I'd be happy to send you like, hey, whatever. Typically we do auto repairs, like it's like kind of the most general term. If we want to look up mechanic or auto repair shop, again, it'll be very, very similar results in terms of those words across the board. But that way you can see, like, you know what, I'm feeling like I'm not ranking as well as I used to. And then you can see for yourself, like, yeah, and is this exactly right? No, but it gives us at least a ballpark depiction of where things currently are kind of at. And
So this is a report then that we can go look at that will actually show us where our customers are coming from. I know, like Kakui and a few of these other my shop manager, a few of those have those in there where you can actually go and look and see where your clients are coming from. Is that
but
that's
this
what
wouldn't
this
be
is
where
doing?
this wouldn't be where your current customers are coming from. I mean, it might end up like matching pretty closely, because that's how you're ranking. But this is how you're ranking in the top, and like in the Google business profile.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
As
Cool.
you type something in Google, like there's
Right.
we mentioned the Google ads, and there's the map section, and there's always only 3 listings that appear there. And so
Okay.
obviously being in that top 3 is crucial, because people are really lazy and they're not going to click on the more businesses to see all the other ones. And so
Yeah.
not in the top 3, again, there's a huge value opportunity that is not had, because you're not there. And so the
Yeah.
more often that you're in the top 3, the higher likelihood that an action is taken in the form of a call or a direction request or a website visit, that again allows your business to naturally get more leads coming through the funnel.
So if I really wanted to attract better clientele, right? Say that I wanted to attract a clientele that maybe had a little bit more money, that had a little bit more money to spend on things, thinking of my own world of Jeeps, right? So I want to go to this guy that has a little bit more money. Can I go in and how would I go about raising the ranking in one of those neighborhoods?
Great question. And so there's different things that maybe it's a different zip code within your city, or maybe it's a different city name in and of itself. And then, like, within your website, within your Google Business profile, not once have you ever mentioned this area of town. Now,
Okay.
I need to have that mentioned on the website. I need to have this mentioned on the Google Business profile. And once you start getting people there, I need them to leave reviews while they're there. And so now you're getting these like little geo markers of where things are, and then naturally that's what kind of helps push the needle in terms of that ranking. But you'd be able to check. You'd be like, you know what? I've always wanted to get more people from the country club right up the street. They're like 2.5 miles north of me, but I feel like I haven't found a way to tap it in. You probably would be able to check in here and see like, yeah, I'm not ranking well. So that makes sense of why no one up there knows about me. And like, who are the ones ranking well? We can even see that too. Who is ranking well? Maybe what they're doing, why it's causing it for them to rank a little bit better. Sometimes it's strictly location based. They're right next to them, but there's 3 spots. So like there's ways to whittle it down and increase that exposure as much as possible.
And it's so, does this sound like something that you need to go to a marketing company to do, or is it something that a shop owner that's wanting to take marketing in his own hands, can he do that, or what?
I mean, yes. I mean, having either one can be effective. Obviously, doing marketing yourself at this scale, time, like, I mean, if you have that much time, fantastic, and that's your role in the company, then definitely
Right.
you can go in and do it. But at the same time, if that's just not your forte and not your thing, I wouldn't risk dabbling too much in it, and maybe even risking your rankings being worse, because maybe you're focused, like, instead of also focusing on the close by places at the same time, you didn't like only focus, oh, like maybe I'll change my whole strategy to only focus on this one area,
Yeah.
and that could hurt everything across the board. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, do you have anything else on this before I ask another question about?
No.
Okay.
I think that was like a high level description of what.
Yeah, that was cool. So if you're a shop owner and you don't have a lot of extra money to spend on marketing, what's some of the easiest ways that they can, get more bang for their buck, get more customers in the door without spending a lot of money? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean the Google reviews aren't the #1 way to rank in the maps. It's not. So some people are like,
Okay.
I have 600 reviews, and my closest competitor has 150, but he's always ranking above. Like that's a common thing that I hear. Like, why am I not always ranking above them? Again, Google reviews are not the #1 trust marker. Like, there's a lot of other data elements. Usually, where you see your organic website ranking, that's kind of going to be where it's most effective. But within the reviews, like we talked about, like being able to respond to them with more data is very valuable and an easy thing that you don't need someone else to do for you, really. Like, yes, it could be
So what's an example of some of that data that they should do?
Yeah. So then in terms of, again, taking that extra effort to look up what someone came in for, and why they, like, what vehicle they brought in, and just starting to like list those things constantly throughout.
Okay.
I think that's a big thing, easy thing that, and as you do that, naturally these rankings will slowly but surely, so it's one element that will slowly but surely allow your local rankings to improve a little bit, because that's anything that you can improve your Google business profile with makes it again that much better, that you're leveraging Google's product. That's what it really wants to see. And so you can leverage it. And then another thing in there is you can make what's called updates. So they're like little posts that you make within your Google business profile. And a lot of people don't read it. Sometimes they'll show like insights on it, and like, look how many people viewed your post, but like really it's just a bunch of noise. Like, no one is going through and reading the post on someone's Google business profile, but Google is seeing how you're leveraging it and using it.
Isn't that crazy? Okay.
So being active in there is big. Usually, I mean, what we do is we do 1 post a week, but if you're doing it yourself, you can do a post every other week. But at least once a month, I'd say you're making some sort of mini post about a service you offer in the area. And again,
so if you specialize in doing and you make good money at doing AC service, and that's something big in your area, right?
Yeah.
And you'd want to post about that so the Google sees that and your customers are going to see that as well. Is that correct?
Especially during the summer,
Makes sense.
As things are getting warmer, you make a post about like, hey, best AC repair in San Antonio, and then you be just kind of a little blurb talking about how you guys go about doing AC repair in the area. You have a tag in there, and boom, you submit, and you're good to go. This game.
Well, it makes sense, right? I mean, okay, cool. Okay.
It does take effort to do these things, so like that's what's important, to just make sure that if you are doing it yourself, you're doing it. Like, you're not just like saying like, oh yeah, I'll do it, and then you're just hoping like that things will just magically get better. Right. That's not going to be a thing.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, good. Well, thank you. Let's move on to our questions now. Okay, so let's see. It looks like we've got one question from Joe. Hey, Joe, how are you? It says, can you put customer review videos on GMB?
So a customer can post can post a video, but you yourself wouldn't be able to just throw it on there. Oh, well, no, I guess you could upload it as a photo in there and
Huh.
as a video. So like that could be that's actually a really good question. I've actually never really thought about putting that on there. So I mean,
That's a great question.
yeah, I really like that. So I'm gonna have to actually think about how that will delineate and then affect what's in there.
And then somebody wrote, "Do you need permission from the customer?"
I would always ask for permission.
I would think so.
Straight on the safe side. I mean, if they're willing to have it, have you video them, more than likely they're fine. But I would always ask and just be like, hey, so with this video we're planning on and kind of putting it around the web here and there, are you okay with that? And they'll be like, oh, absolutely. Like again, like more than likely. But if they're not, then it's great to have the video. But then I guess
I like that. Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to make sure, you know.
yeah. For
Okay.
sure.
How important is keyword research and SEO?
How important?
Yeah.
I would, I mean, before someone even embarks on SEO, they definitely need to do a research, do an audit of what currently is there and going on. It's important to analyze like competitors and seeing
Okay.
how, especially the ones that one way to
So
just type in auto repair in your area and see who's ranking well, like what websites are ranking well.
that's a great, okay. So how would you do that? How would you go in and look at, like, say, one of your competitors in town? How would you go look at their SEO words? How does that work?
And so definitely leveraging different tools helps in terms of seeing
Okay.
how they're ranking. But like if you just go on to an auto repair shop website, you'd be more than likely able to see like hopefully throughout it, like what links are sort of clickable that lead to other pages on the website. Those are probably the keywords that they're trying to use.
Okay.
You things at the very top of a page are what we call an H1 header tag. And so what's in there is usually what should be the main keyword of the whole page in and of itself.
Okay.
So seeing the top portion, you'd be able to then grasp.
Now this AHREF that you talked about, would that do the same thing?
So yeah, you'd be able to punch in a website name in there, and then it would spit out like lots of different data, not just like an SEO analysis, but there'd be lots of different data in there to help understand like what are the ins and outs of what's going on.
Okay. Great. And that's cool. I was just curious about that. So there's also another question here from Christian Mosley that says, do backlinks really matter for auto repair sites?
I mean, in my opinion, it's another avenue of SEO that's important. Now, in terms of the scale of what is needed in there, that if a lot of other competitors in the area aren't really getting very many out of them, then probably you don't need to get too many of them. But again, and then there's different levels in terms of the quality of a backlink. So like if it's a backlink off of a website in a different country, that then you're like you bought off of Fiverr, like that's going to do absolutely nothing for if anything, it might help your site a little bit. But if you're getting, hey, like there's something within the local news or a local business that you supported, and they also put something on their website and it links back, absolutely, that's like a huge benefit that like no one else in the local area is grasping on. So that's what
okay. And then Scott, hey Scott, how are you? Scott has a question here too, or a comment really. It says, we use hashtags in our social media posts and Google posts. For example, pound brakes or pound Camry brakes with a picture of a brake job being performed.
And that's great. I mean, leveraging hashtags. I mean, the power of hashtags have definitely been decreased a little bit in terms of how it's being used. Still important to be able to throw in there. Because I mean, people used to spam those with keywords in terms of the hashtags. So that doesn't quite bring as much power anymore, but still a good activity to do. But I think that the practice that this person is doing, Scott's doing here, is a lot more than a lot of people are doing. So I think that's a great job in and of itself.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then another question we got here is, how many blogs posts a month should I have on my site? Christian, good questions, Christian.
Yeah. I think one is fine. More than that, I mean, again, it depends on the quality in which that you're putting on the website itself too. Like again, people can, with AI these days, you can mass generate tons of content, but if the quality is poor, then if anything, it might hurt you to even be putting on the website. So it depends on what you're truly putting out there. Just making sure it's valuable for the yes, Google, but valuable for the consumer if they were to ever read it.
kind of like the They Ask You Answer, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Did
no,
you ever read that book?
I have not.
It's a really great book, and it just talks about giving your client as much information as you think that they could ever want, so that
Uh,
they go to you as an expert. So in other words, if auto repair and you want to go in and give them as many articles about doing ring and pinions or water pumps or whatever it may be that's relevant to your audience, that they would give them more value. So
yeah.
anyway, it's a great book. I did not give a good synopsis of it, but it's a good book. So
I'll
okay.
definitely add it to my list.
Yeah, it's good. And then how can we optimize our website for conversions or ensure a seamless user experience?
Great. That's a great question. And so
Yeah.
within a website, you don't need to be too fancy all the time. I mean, like, obviously you want something, everyone's like, I want something different though. Like there's a lot of templates out there that people are like, everyone looks very, very similar. But and there's definitely some design pieces that you can make unique to yourself, because within the design is not like a number one factor of SEO. It's Google's reading the content and the words that are there. The design is going to be more your style, as long as it's not affecting the speed of the site too detrimentally. But things that are on there should be like a clear phone number that's clickable and tappable on the phone. And if you're doing online scheduling, a clear button to book an online schedule should be there without even scrolling. Like that's the biggest thing. Like, what does my site, both mobile and what like desktop wise, look like when I
Right.
don't scroll? And like as a consumer able to then take the action that I want without that happening. And then that's a big thing that I think at a base level of conversions, like that's what you are hoping to see. If you're having a hard time even like seeing the number at a quick glance or anything like that, then I would move it, like make it so it's very visible or whatever. If you're like, yep, we want phone calls, like, yep, we want online appointments, like whatever that avenue is, that should be the main way of conversion. That's very easy and accessible on
That's great. Okay, cool. Good question. Thank you for that answer too, Kelsey. And then another one from Christian. Man, you're awesome. I love this. Do you run Google AdWords to your website or create separate landing pages for each company or each campaign? Another good question.
So, I mean, marketing companies do different things. I know some people do one or the other. I mean, we personally do landing pages. I've seen it work better in terms of the ability to track conversions a little bit cleaner, and it delineates any risk of like Google ads are going to have a higher risk of spam visits than an organic visit, like an organic person does. And so that's where we never thought that creating an easy avenue of spam visits to a website would be of any value at all. And so that's where we created separate landing pages on there.
Cool. That makes sense. All right. Cool. All right, my friend. Well, I think we are good. Think we have any other questions at this time. And if you guys have other questions, feel free to reach out to Kelsey with that type of stuff too. This is what he does for a living. So, okay. So tell us about some of the stuff that they'll receive if they, opt in on the QR code on the next page. I think it is, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, I think there should actually been some on the bottom of every page. Right? So we do like a free strategy session. It's a meeting where we obviously evaluate everything of your online presence. We want to get to know your shop a little bit better as well in terms of kind of the size and dynamic, just making sure everything aligns and makes sense. And then we'd also like, again, show you that geo grid of like where you're ranking, how you're performing in the area, and really like, yeah, helping you understand your local presence at the end of the day.
I just got to say something that for marketing companies, guys, once again, anybody who knows is familiar with Elite, we really try hard not to do specific recommendations for companies. It's just because it's one of those things that every shop is so different. But we really recommend that our clients really research each company that they're thinking about going to and figure out who the good fit is, because I went from one that was good to one that was really good. And it was amazing because they actually knew my business and they've gone forwarding with us and they actually knew and understood what we were about. So when they helped us out with marketing, they knew our business intimately. They knew Jeeping and they knew what was exciting to our customers. And so it really helped us out a lot with that. And so, as you guys are if you think about doing marketing, if you've been doing it in-house or you're not happy with who you've been with, make sure that you meet with someone like Kelsey and you can ask them good questions and see if they're on the same page. And then, make sure you feel good about it because you want to be able to have that connection with them. You can reach out to them at any time and say, I'm not pleased about how this ad's going. What can we do different? Or, you know what, we're really slow right now. What do you guys recommend? And have them give you good content and good feedback, So I think that having a free strategy session will be very valuable because you're going to have them come in and look at their site, your existing site, and see if it's, what needs to be fixed and improved on it.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously we try to be as unbiased as possible. But if
Yeah.
someone thinks something, if someone like there's the people that have met with me and I'm like, you know what, honestly, everything is really solid and really good. Like, I mean, maybe there's the communication aspect of why you're annoyed and why you're even reaching out to begin with. And I understand like that there's elements that can be improved there. But in terms of results space, I'm like, yeah, if this looks good, this looks good. And like, if you feel like there isn't a need to rock the boat any other way, then that's totally fine too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so this is the strategy session, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can scan a QR code, it goes straight
Yeah.
to our site. So then, I mean, we have some like questions that we ask before it goes to the counter to book an appointment. Or you can give me a call, you can text this number, you can email us, whatever works best for you. I'm on Facebook actually all the time because a lot of shop owners are on Facebook all the time too. So I make sure I'm very accessible there.
Yeah. You guys have a good group too, a Facebook group too.
Yeah, we have a Facebook group, auto repair shop owners mastermind group, and so if you type that in Facebook, it's a good blend of. I mean, obviously we post the up and up on like latest marketing things. Some of it gets a little bit technical, but I still share it regardless, just so that way if anyone's interested, they're aware of just what's happening. It's not this complete surprise that they've never heard it before. But also like other shop owners asking just again, general.
Yeah, it's just a good way to get up to date on new things.
Yeah.
So then you get to what's the free marketing checklist?
Yeah, so this is at again a very basic level of like just making sure the basics are implemented on some of your market presence. So whether it be the website, the section of like website, just checking on like we mentioned the conversions and like are these things there? Like is the phone number there? Is the phone number working? Like the things that are just sometimes so basic that you just never think about, but like when you check it the first time, like holy crap, there's a lot. Maybe there's a lot more wrong here than I expected. So this checklist just kind of scrolls through it, both on like some of your rankings, your Google Business profile, and whatnot. So
that's cool.
There as a basic checklist. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you, Kelsey.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate you spending time with us today. And thank you to everybody else who participated in the webinar. We hope that you found some valuable insights and stuff in there. And don't be afraid to reach out to Kelsey. Once again, I really, as a person and business owner, I really like him. He's a great guy. And we've had multiple conversations and somebody that really believes in doing good quality work for people. So if you have any questions on your marketing or you want to, make sure that you're getting a good value with the company you're currently with, feel free to reach out to him because he will take good care of him and his team. They're great people and met quite a few of your people out at the different events and things. And you have a good team. So
I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, again, if you're not wanting to meet the entire time, you just want to see that map, again, just shoot me a message on like Facebook probably is the easiest place where I can get it back to you. Just message me there and be like, hey, I'm looking to see how my shop is performing. I just need obviously your shop name and where you're located so I can look it up, right? And then I can shoot that over. But again, and right back at Darrin. Darrin is amazing. So if you're not already a part of Elite, or at least like don't have coaching really, reach out to Darrin and his team.
Thanks, man.
They'll at least be able to put you in that. I'm a firm believer in coaching. I think that transformed like our personal business for my wife and I. Because when we didn't have coaching, I mean, we were like, yeah, we're doing great, we're doing good, but we kind of had this plateau effect, and like why? And then we got introduced to a coaching group, and we're like, man, it was like such a game changer just seeing other businesses like ourselves that were like doing it at much bigger levels that we honestly didn't have dreams and goals that were like that large. We're like, that's even possible? Like holy moly. And then now we're like, well, why were our dreams and goals so small? And I think like having that foundation of a coach and people that have done
it helps so much,
like you guys that do it, I think is so bad. Like
why keep walking around falling and stumbling when you got somebody that can help you out to minimize those? You're still going to. It's part of life, we got to keep going.
Swallow your pride and like know that that I do not know everything, and someone has done and dealt with what I have dealt with. So
cool. Well, thank you again, all of you out there in the audience, for being here with us. Thank you for giving us your time. We hope you found value. And again, Kelsey, thank you so much for your time as well. And hope you guys have a good rest of your days and a good weekend up ahead. So
yeah, same to you all. Thank you, Darrin. Thank you everyone for being here. Thanks for the questions, everyone. We'll talk soon.
Of course. Okay, thank you.
All right.
See ya.